Yeah, hi guys, thanks for having me this morning. So I confess I'm not usually on this side of the Zoom screen, so bear with me. So yeah, Tammy brought this idea to us when she noticed that her iPhone tracker had fitness tracker had a gait symmetry monitor, and so it was like, well, what's that mean? What if I don't have a fitness tracker? How am I going to track my stride symmetry, double limb support time? What's that mean? And so that led us to this idea of, what is the importance of walking speed? What's the importance of having a symmetrical gait? So there was this great research article that came out a few years ago called Gait Speed, the sixth vital sign. So like blood pressure is a vital sign, heart rate's a vital sign. What if we used walking speed as a vital sign? And it correlated kind of a self-selected walking speed with functional outcomes and what we could kind of predict about somebody's health long-term based on, kind of that self-selected walking speed. Okay, so we'll try and share the first slide here. Let's see. Okay. In the beginning. Okay, can you guys see the slide?
Yep, it's good.
Excellent. Okay. So if we look at this first bottom bar where you see it says household walker, limited community ambulator, community ambulator. So a household walker, and you also see, the chart was done in meters per second, and on the side here, I provided that as feet per second as well. So a household walker is somebody that's really just comfortable getting around in their house. Maybe even just from their bedroom to their bathroom, and then they're tired and they need to sit. So that's a pretty slow speed. So that's about 0.6 feet per second to 1.2 feet per second. And then the next category up would be a limited community ambulator. So that's somebody that's comfortable leaving their house. They're comfortable getting down to the mailbox. They're comfortable maybe going a block down the street and back. Maybe they're comfortable getting around the grocery store if they have the cart to lean on. And that's kind of in this 2 to 2.4 feet per second that they're walking. And these are speeds with and without an assisted device. So it doesn't matter if you have to use something for that speed. We'll talk about that in a minute. A community ambulator, somebody that's comfortable getting out and about, they're comfortable getting around the grocery store. They're comfortable going a couple of blocks down the street. That's a speed that's kind of 3 to 3.6 feet per second. So a pretty steady clip that you're able to maintain for a while, not just a short burst. And then if we look at the far right of that bar, to be able to safely cross the street, they say you need 3.9 feet per second. I think we've kind of all seen the examples of, somebody that's a little slower crossing the street, right? And kind of how you can compare, like, oh, what speed do I need to efficiently make it across the street? And so what they did with this study, if we kind of look at all those bars above that, we'll even go up to the very top bar now. So if someone's considered extremely frail, they're not walking probably more than 0.6 feet per second. So a pretty slow pace, right? And so you can definitely see how that is somebody that's really kind of limited to getting around in their house only. If we look at that next category up on the very top bar there, somebody that probably needs interventions to reduce fall risk, somebody that's at an increased need for personal care or help doing their ADLs. That's that 1.2 to really up to that community speed, that 3 feet per second. So that's a pretty big category, right? Because you think whatever the reason that they're walking that slow, probably is going to increase their risk of having a fall or increase the likelihood that they need some help taking care of themselves. And so then obviously, if we look at the next bar, at the very top on the right, less likely to be hospitalized or have an adverse event. That's again somebody that's walking at that 3 feet per second or that 1 meter per second. And you think, yeah, if I'm walking at that efficient speed, I am probably more likely to be able to take care of myself. Okay. So we often don't think about speed as it relates to distance, right? I mean, we're not talking about like needing to run here. But if you think, it's going to be a lot harder to walk around the grocery store if you're made to walk at a slower speed, or than if you're allowed to walk at kind of like your self-selected pace. Let's see here. So we'll bring up our next chart here. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry there. Mostly we're just looking at the U curve here. There's a fascinating, this chart, it shows the amount of energy needed to walk. So that's on the left side, the vertical bar, and your walking speed on the horizontal bar there. And so this tells us that the amount of energy needed to walk actually decreases with a little bit of speed. So, if you're window shopping, right, you're just kind of strolling along, you're going at a very slow speed, that actually takes more energy than if you're kind of, efficiently going somewhere, right? You're on a purpose, that your amount of energy needed to walk goes down quite a bit. Then obviously if you start crossing the street or you start running or something, that energy level goes back up. And so we want to find kind of the speed where you're actually being very efficient with your energy. And this is because we have to walk at a sufficient speed to activate reflexes in our hips and ankles that accelerate our legs forward. In the same way that our knees jerk, when the doctor taps on our patella, we have these speed-dependent reflexes in our hips and ankles that propel our legs forward. And if we don't stretch them with enough range of motion, if we don't stretch them with enough speed, we're really just powering ourselves forward with a lot of muscle effort. And so why does symmetry matter? What's that mean? If you're looking at your iPhone tracker and you're looking at double limb support time, what are these features? Let's see, so we'll pull up our next slide here. So this is a picture from kind of, if you're ever looking for Gait resources, Rancho Los Amigos has a lot of really good Gait resources. And this is a pretty common picture in the PT world. But it really kind of highlights, the different parts of walking. So walking is more or less kind of 62% standing on 2 legs, and then 38% standing on 1 leg. So we call that double limb support, and then like a swing phase. So just some things to kind of highlight from this chart here. As you can see, heel strike, we've got both feet on the ground. Then, as we kind of go left to right in this chart, we've got the moment where we bring our torso over our legs. And then if you look kind of fourth figure in, terminal stance, that's actually a pretty important phase of walking because that's where we trigger a lot of those reflexes in our hips and ankles that give us a little moment forward. And then we, swing the other leg forward, standing on 1 leg, and then it repeats again on the other side. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at, when we're looking at someone's speed, how they're walking, if they're limping, what does that look like? So a lot of our, ability to stand on 1 leg or walking, that comes from our ankles. It comes from our hips, our glute muscles, you know, the big guys in the back, the abductor, which is the side hip muscle. We need a lot of pelvic stability to have these kind of efficient symmetrical gaits. You know, and so obviously the things that affect symmetry, it's kind of a depressingly long list of things that, you know, can affect how you walk, right? Knee pain, stiff ankles, tight hips, because we all sit on our computers all day long. Obviously, if you had something like a stroke and it affects one side of your body, all of these things that are going to cause you to limp, as it were. So one of the first things that we do, you know, to address a limp, right? What do? Yeah, as a person in your house, or, you know, if you come to PT, you might get an assisted device, a cane or a walker. And so people tell me all the time, I don't try not to use my cane in the house. I don't want it to be a crutch. I can touch the walls. And I tell people all the time that using an assisted device is never a crutch. It's never going to be holding you back if it helps you have this symmetrical gait. You know, because we can see here, you know, how having that symmetrical gait is going to get you a faster speed. And then if we look at that faster speed and those functional outcomes, you know, you're going to get all the benefits that come with a more symmetrical gait, with a more faster speed. Okay, so what do? How do you track this on your own? I confess I don't have a fitness tracker. I don't have an iPhone. I was looking at my coworker's iPhone and the fitness tracker when Tammy mentioned that feature to her in her phone. So yeah, the Apple Watch, it had a speed and stride length monitor. You know, but you don't have to have that. You know, here we use a 20-foot section of hallway. So you can always time yourself across a known distance of hallway. So, you know, say someone takes 20 seconds to go 20 feet down the hall, 20 divided by 20, right? 1 foot per second. You could always have someone video you. We often video our clients here just on an iPad and then show them what it looks like, you know. If your spouse has been saying to you, hey, you're swaying a lot when you walk, you know, sometimes it's just nice to have that long distance perspective of, oh, this is what I look like. You know, I mean, you feel it in your body all day long, but do you ever actually like see, oh, this is what I'm doing? So how fast do you have to walk to cover a city block at that community pace, 3.6 feet per second? So if we're, let's see here, I'll stop this here for a second. If you're, take a section of downtown in front of the Y, right? We'll go with the city block is 320 feet. If I put it in my bad math generator, 320 feet divided by 3.6, that gives you about a minute and a half. So I'm going to cover one side of the block to the other in a minute and a half. Can I do that? You know, you think about that. It's not running, right? But it's also not just a strolling pace. You've got to put a little bit of effort into it. So you can ask yourself, you know, yeah, is that a comfortable pace? Is that like, ooh, I feel winded? You know, kind of where does that, how does that gauge to you? Sometimes what people even do, you know, even if you don't know, oh, this section of my hallway is 20 feet, you know, I don't know how long my hallway is. Floor tiles are about 12 inches, right? So if you have a hallway with floor tiles, that's 12 or a foot there. You can kind of mark out a distance that way. Or even just, there's a thing called a 6-minute walk test. You know, how far can you walk in 6 minutes? So if you've got your hallway, right, say I'm just going up and down my hallway for 6 minutes. How many times can I do that? Can I get more repetitions in that 6 minutes? How do I feel when I'm done with that? So those are some other ways that you can kind of just gauge, oh, you know, like I feel comfortable with my walking. Ooh, you know, maybe I notice my walking is slowing, or oh, maybe I'm getting faster by putting a little effort into, okay, I'm gonna get more repetitions. I'm gonna practice this crossing the street pace. So just kind of some ways to gauge yourself where you might be at, or you may even ask yourself kind of from the other side of things, like, I'm having trouble carrying my groceries. I'm having trouble in that functional chart. You know, maybe I'm finding that I need more help with things, you know, kind of what is my speed like on that end. So you can always look at it from that side. So that's about all I have for this morning.
Okay.
I know that was a lot of odd numbers to go through very fast.
No, that was great. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to type any questions or just shout out any questions? I'm going to go ahead and unmute. There we go. And if you want to unmute.
I have just a quick question. This is Catherine. Okay. And I was is wondering, so you've been talking, kind of describing our natural gait and so forth. Is trying to increase our gait at a faster speed, would that be a good thing to do or not?
I mean, it's usually a pretty good practice or like an exercise. You know, even if you're just taking short sections, like, yeah, sometimes I'll just, it kind of depends where everybody's at, right? You know, for some people, I just say, ooh, you know, go from one end of your hallway to the other and try to walk at a faster pace. You know, if somebody's pretty fit, they're already out in the community, you know, doing pretty well. Can you go 2 blocks at a faster pace? Can you go 5 minutes at a faster pace? The ability to change your pace wherever it's at is pretty important to keep. And so, yeah, usually, you know, kind of practicing that. I'm going to practice a faster pace, or I'm going to practice changing my pace. It's yeah, it's a good response to have for your balance.
Good, thank you.
Let's see.
I have a question. This is Melissa. What about people with Parkinson's?
Oh, I think I missed the last part of that question.
What about people who have Parkinson's disease?
Was that Parkinson's? So I think I heard, yeah, what about people with Parkinson's? So yeah, definitely, if I understood correct, that does slow the pace quite a bit typically. And that's a very good thing to practice when someone has Parkinson's, because you're not just, you know, again, everybody's different, so I'm kind of speaking generally here. But yeah, you still have the ability to work at different speeds. You still have the ability to work into a faster pace. I know at the Y you have like the pedaling for Parkinson's. Here we have the Moving Big program, and both those programs, they put emphasis on, yeah, kind of a faster speed, right? I'm gonna make my body work at a faster pace. So it is harder, definitely, when someone has Parkinson's, but it's still usually a worthwhile exercise to try and work into those faster paces, because it's going to affect your balance. It's going to just affect the ease with which you get up and move around your house. So definitely, probably even more worth it if someone has Parkinson's to work on that.
And Linda P., did you have a question?
Yes, for the benefits of exercise versus what you've been discussing up to this point, what would be the good walking speed?
Let's see. I don't think I quite understood the question. So you're just asking kind of what's a
good. So I found a place that's a flat area that I can walk, and I walk faster than I would normally if I'm walking through my house. And I do have the iPhone, so it does have the walking speed on there. So what's a good walking speed for, you know, the benefit of exercise?
Yeah. Again, that could, kind of everybody's,
Right.
I don't know where you start at. So especially if you're kind of already looking at it again, the average, right, would be 3.6, so I don't know, feet per second. Does the iPhone, does it tell you feet per second?
Yeah, miles per hour. Miles per hour.
Ooh, I didn't do that math. I meant to do that math before.
Okay.
But you could always look at, okay, how does this make me feel? Kind of how you perceive about that speed, right? In my conversational pace. One thing, to do is kind of also track your heart rate while you're doing that, because that really gives you how your body's responding to your pace, right? If your heart rate's kind of staying the same, and even if you're keeping a pretty good clip, you probably have room to move it up a little bit. So, yeah, as far as miles per hour, I'd have to do that math. But yeah, if you're trying to walk 3.6 to 4 feet per second, as far as exercise goes, you're probably pushing it a bit, right? You're not just strolling. So it'd be hard to say like, okay, this number for you. But yeah, if you're looking at your heart rate, kind of how you perceive your exertion,
okay,
I want it to be a little bit hard.
Excellent. Okay, so Linda H has a question in the chat. Discuss gait and body issues. Gait can be affected by ankle position, pronated ankles as an example. How can a person improve body alignment that affects gait?
Yeah. So that's where, you can really get into a myriad of different things that affect how you're walking. But yeah, definitely, if someone's, everybody's a little duck-footed, pigeon-toed, bow-legged, all those things do affect, how you walk. Any arthritis in the knees, surgeries in your ankles that make you stiff. So, I mean, we'll speak generally, definitely people get tight, right? You get tight in the hips and the ankles, and those are things that are pretty easy to stretch at home. But yeah, if somebody has some pretty significant, it's hard to be a foot on a Zoom screen, pronation or supination, if that's affecting pain, if they feel off balance, it's probably worth looking at, do I need to get an orthotic? Or, is this something that I can just get a good walking shoe to improve my alignment? So yeah, generally, stretch, I would say why that's kind of stretching is important. Hips and ankles, because we really need flexible hips and ankles to walk efficiently. But yeah, definitely sometimes it's worth looking into a proper orthotic.
Okay, and then Cindy B has a question with bad knees walking can be painful at times. How many times a day would be good to work on improving walking speed?
Yeah. Often when someone has like a painful condition, or say they feel like really fatigued, it never has to be one big long walk, right? I don't want somebody to go out and like tire themselves out. I'd say like short and frequent, right? So even if you're just in your house, okay, I'm gonna get up and go to the refrigerator, right? Can I go there a little faster? Or am I just, going at my usual pace? So in some ways you could work it into whatever you do. If you're kind of starting from ground zero, working on that pace, try it just once a day. Can you put in 5 minutes? Okay, this section of hallway, I'm going to do it. If that feels pretty easy, do you have time to put into your schedule twice a day? Just short bouts of that. It never has to be long. Although kind of like the, I think it was Linda's question, you know, if I'm doing this for exercise and I have a long stretch, you know, definitely you can take 10, 15, 20 minutes and try to work a longer amount of a faster pace. But yeah, if you've got painful knees and you just can't put in that substantial amount of time, nothing wrong with 30 seconds at a time, 2 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time. Build from there, do that several times a day. Because yeah, if you blow out your knees, you're not going to do it. So yeah, pace it out is a perfectly fine way to go about that. Good question.
Excellent. Are there any more questions? I don't see any more in the chat. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mary. How would they get a hold of you if they have further questions, or if you have anything at the Graybo Center that would be beneficial for them?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Those are kind of the things that we address all day long here, you know. So definitely, as you're like, yeah, you know, maybe I noticed something significant. It's always worth, you know, talking to your doctor, getting a PT referral for. I mean, I could always leave you my email address here, or yeah, just, you know, the Graybo Center here can always send someone back to my voicemail or.
Sure. And, you know, if so you would recommend having people contact their doctor for PT referral?
I mean, definitely if you notice something, you know, significant, usually to get into PT, it helps to have that doctor's referral first. So if you're like, oh yeah, this is something that I need to work on, then yeah, you would definitely want to have your doctor's referral too. And then it just helps to check out, you know, some other things too, you know, especially as we talk about like, okay, pushing things a little bit, working at faster paces. We always want to make sure heart's in good shape too. So if that's something they're like, yeah, I really need to work on that, but I need some, you know, expert advice. Yeah, it's a great thing to get checked out by PT.
Sure. All right. Oh, looks like Mary put another question in the chat. How do you build up running again if you've kind of gotten out of the practice?
I mean, running in itself is a whole realm of PT. I mean, yeah, in some ways to, you know, run, you have to be able to walk at those faster paces again. So I would definitely, you know, kind of be working, okay, how do I feel if I'm walking fast? Can I do that? Can I do that for more than a couple of minutes at a time? Running, you know, if walking is time spent on one leg, running is actually a brief moment of time, you know, that you're not on either foot, you know. So kind of how is your balance? Do you even feel like, oh, I have sufficient balance to get to that point again? So that's a mighty question for a short time on Zoom. But yeah, definitely it's kind of that, you know, looking at those faster paces and being able to change your pace if you're looking at running again.
Excellent. All right. I don't see any more questions. So if you guys want to all unmute and say, oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Now you should be, oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Now we can unmute. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Very helpful.